Deforestation is a major threat to biodiversity and is created through the overexploitation and degradation of forest ecosystems. This deforestation is often caused by logging, agriculture, or development of areas previously occupied by forest ecosystems. The rate of deforestation is greatest in countries with high population densities, as their populations cover large areas and rates of development are often higher. Okay, go.
Habitat destruction is one of the primary causes of the loss of biodiversity and results in variation of genetic species present in ecosystems as well as variation in ecosystem levels. As a result of human activities, including farming, logging, there is very little frontier forest remaining. Frontier forests are intact blocks of undisturbed forest large enough to support all aspects of biodiversity. Deforestation can result in habitat fragmentation, which can lead to limits of dispersal and colonization, restricted access to food and mates, creation of smaller populations, and interspecies interactions and edge effects.
The Shannon Biodiversity Index is a tool that is used to measure the biodiversity within an ecosystem, which takes the relative abundance of different species into account. Due to deforestation, the number of species within an ecosystem decreases, resulting in lower Shannon Index and an overall lack of biodiversity. This index can be used to review biodiversity in any degraded ecosystem, not just those that are a result of deforestation. Following evaluation of data obtained through Shannon Biodiversity Index, biodiversity can be further assessed to determine which conservation efforts would most effectively aid in the protection and restoration of the ecosystem evaluated.
In ecosystems that lack biodiversity, species that live within those ecosystems often lack genetic diversity, which can result in those species experiencing bottleneck effects, inbreeding depression, and risk for being wiped out by a single predator or specific disease. Plants capture water that fall as rain and then transpire it back into the atmosphere. Loss of vegetation from forested regions can result in a reduction of average annual rainfall and greatly alter weather patterns over large areas. Plant growth is tied to the carbon cycle. Intact and restored forest aid in the retention of carbon and the absorption of atmospheric CO2, aiding in the prevention of increased CO2 levels. Many ecosystems, including forest ecosystems, have amenity value, with activities that take place in them such as hiking and camping, providing an income. This amenity value can often be considerable and can benefit local communities and economies. Many forested areas can be greatly used for scientific value, for research in many areas including botany, ecology, and conservation biology. These areas also have an educational value, as students can learn through studies in basic biology or higher level sciences out in the field. At Maryville, our forested areas have been used in multiple classes, including general biology, botany, ecology, conservation biology, plants and people, and others.
In an effort to restore a local ecosystem, such as a forest near campus, one must compare this degraded ecosystem to representative sites, which allows us to identify which areas of the ecosystem and which organisms specifically require protection. RAPs, or Rapid Biodiversity Assessments, can be used to map the species present in an ecosystem and check those species for special concern that requires additional protection. Ecosystem management can be used to involve those influencing deforestation, including farmers, government agencies, and conservationists, to preserve the ecosystem on a long-term basis while still ensuring that the needs of all those using the area are met. On campus, this would be a meeting between local conservationists, Dr. Lombardi, university employees involved in development, and science professors to determine how conservation of our remaining forest ecosystems can occur while still allowing for sound development and for university needs to be met. Multiple use habitats can also be created to manage a variety of goods and services. This allows for government-owned land to remain used for a variety of services. However, it reviews competitive claims on land and involves careful analyses and consideration of trade-offs of development. At Maryville, this would be university-owned land that was still allowed to have multiple uses. However, those uses should be more carefully considered prior to being pursued, and biodiversity could be taken into greater regard before pursuing them. In these images, you can see a satellite view of campus. You can see the soccer field and Saints Hall, as well as the areas that were cleared off and have previously been forested. You can also see fragmentation of forest ecosystems that resulted from the building of our campus and the placement of parking lots. Here is a real-life view of deforestation on our campus. You can see our giant new soccer field as well as Saints Hall. but you can also see cleared off areas of land that are not used and have had trees removed from them. Go.
As a senior here at Maryville, I have seen a lot of development on our campus over the past 4 years. We have a wonderful new dorm, Saints Hall, as well as a new track and soccer field. While these areas may seem beneficial to the university, many new students don't understand the cost at which they came. The areas where this development occurred used to be forested, and a large amount of trees and land were cleared in order to develop these areas. Not only did this development result in a loss of trees, it took out almost an entire ecosystem, resulted in fragmentation of the remaining forest areas, and caused a rapid decrease in biodiversity within that ecosystem and here on campus.
Maryville can combat deforestation in many ways. Firstly, they can stop tearing down trees to create additional buildings and campus amenities and focus on different forms of development, possibly expanding existing buildings upwards rather than outwards. Rehabilitation is possible at the affected area by filling empty areas where trees were removed with new trees or grasslands. Partial restoration may be possible, as some of the ecosystem still remains and is functional. Maryville would need to focus on ensuring that dominant species are still present in these areas, as well as resilient species. Reconciliation ecology is used in developing areas to ensure people and biodiversity coexist. As our campus is developing, it would be to the benefit of those on campus to preserve some natural areas where biodiversity is present. By leaving the forests intact, which contain hiking trails, individuals on campus can benefit from the beauty of the area as well as receive educational benefits. Novel ecosystems may have to be accepted on campus, as the area may be too altered to return to its natural state. By ensuring the ecosystem has a mixture of native and non-native species that are able to persist within it, we can increase biodiversity and preserve the ecosystem to the best of our ability, although it may be different than a reference site, the original ecosystem, or the historical ecosystem.